embodied spirits of Earth. Today I have a very fun story that I want to share with you, and I just want to tell you about how I began working with deities. So first of all, I had a very amazing teacher, Adesh Kaur Khalsa, who coined Kundanyasa yoga, and she was the first person who introduced me to different deities and taught me how to work with mantras in order to communicate with them and call them in. Now, it makes sense since there's 9 billion people, humans on the planet. There are countless animal lives on the planet. There's not just Jesus and God in the heavenly realms. God has many, many faces. And the confusion has come in from our language and cultural differences, where people think just because he or she is called by a different name, that it is a demonic entity of some sort because Jesus is the only way. This is absolutely not true. They show up in the form that will be most acceptable or most pleasant to the people who they are delivering the message to. They change their shape just like they change their clothes in order to make the communication easier on the person receiving the communication. Now, I want you to just imagine that you are a conscious being of a higher magnitude and order, and you are trying to bring the message of love, peace, and truth to a planet. Would you deliver the message to one location at one time in history and then just disappear? Or would you actually come back over and over again in different locations to make sure that every culture and continent receives the same message, that every people receives the same message? This consciousness would deliver the message in many different ways, in many languages, to many different establishments, to many different people and continents. It makes absolute sense. So I'm going to tell you a story about how I encountered one of the deities face to face. There was a period of time where I had a weekly meditation group at my house. It was about 10 years ago, and I would usually do some kind of either breath work or mantra meditation, visualization, or psychic development practice, right? So there was always a really, really good turnout, but one week we had just myself and 2 other people. And so that week I decided we're going to try something new, something I've never done before. This is a completely brand new mantra to me. And I used to believe that the deities in different texts and traditions were actually just archetypes of creator. I thought they were just concepts that humans defined. And I did not believe that they were individual, self-existing beings. So we decided that we would try this mantra, and one of the people was never into using his voice, and so he decided he was going to sit silently and be the observer and just listen to the mantra. The other person present was very deeply Christian and very skeptical about the entire thing, and very conflicted, I would say, about what this is. And so she dropped out about halfway through the meditation. And my goal was to get through about 31 minutes of chanting. And I was chanting the names of Lord Vishnu. The second person dropped out of the mantra. I decided to continue all the way through. And so I was the only one chanting, reciting the mantra, even though there were 3 of us sitting there. And my friend who was sitting quietly, he saw a golden light come in. And the other person who was sitting in a somewhat judgmental state, she didn't perceive anything happening. But at about 27 minutes, I was told to inhale. And so I inhaled and I held my breath and I focused all my energy into the crown, into the third eye. And I held my breath as long as I felt comfortable. And then I exhaled. I had this pressure of this like round portal pushing into my third eye. It was like someone pressing on my forehead, but inside my consciousness. And it's very difficult to explain what that feels like. And so this window was protruding, kind of like when you're blowing up a bubble. This bubble was protruding into my third eye vision. My eyes were closed. And then the bubble got bigger and bigger and it opened up. And before me was a golden Buddha in full manifestation. And he was sitting in a lotus pose. And he had this magnificent smile on his face. And he was meditating with me. And he didn't move. He was in perfect stillness, absorbed in spirit. And he was projecting bliss and love and peace and compassion and understanding and just overwhelming positive emotions that I've never felt from anybody else before. And as I sat there just in awe of what was happening, I could see him with my eyes closed and my eyes open. It didn't matter. His image and his body was bigger than the room where I was sitting. And it's hard to explain a higher dimensional being and how it's possible for something that huge to fit inside of a small apartment. But he defied the limitations of the material world completely. And so as I was captivated by this image, tears just started streaming down my face because I was so humbled and so inspired and so amazed by this. Never in a million years would have I thought that I would meet a deity face to face. It was not even something that I had considered. And at that moment, I realized they are not archetypes. These deities are 100% real. They are 100% aspects of Creator. And they are just so abundant and full of love and full of compassion and embodiment of the highest good, of the highest divine love that you can imagine. And so after the portal closed and I came back, I started thinking, why, if we did a mantra to the names of Vishnu, why did I see Lord Buddha in my vision, and why did Lord Buddha show up to communicate with me? And so that's when I started researching spiritual texts that discuss Lord Vishnu. And it turns out that Lord Vishnu has been known as Christ, as Buddha, as Krishna, as Gopal, Govinda, Haribol, and many more that probably are not documented. So this divine embodiment of God, this aspect of God, has visited Earth on so many different occasions, delivering the same message, and the message of Creator, because we live in an illusion, and the love of Creator is so much more grand than this limited world. And when we get caught up in the minutia of the physical material problems, we lose sight of what we are doing here. We lose sight of the big picture, that you have multiple lives, you have multiple chances to learn lessons through direct personal experience, right? You can learn through books and you can read about things, But when you have a direct personal experience, the learning is so much greater. And so that is what we are doing here. And this being, Lord Vishnu, is constantly having to come in and remind us that the truth is so much bigger than our myopic vision of planet Earth. And the other thing that I really wanted to say in this video is that for every deity at the hierarchy or the family tree, starting with the Most High God, for every male deity, there is a female counterpart. So we have Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. And then we have Parvati, Sarasvati, and Lakshmi. And most traditions, for whatever reason, have had a male leaning, as if there's no female divinity out there. And some of the only ones are Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism that acknowledge the female aspects of creator. And it is important for everyone to know that the female deities are just as important as the male deities. The job of the male deities is to shield and protect. It's to absorb and transform the darkness. And the job of the female deities is to create, to give birth, and to nurture. And they are both different, completely different jobs, but the female energies were not meant to absorb, and they were not meant to suffer. That is the male aspect, the male's responsibility. But the female is the creator and the nurturer of the universe. And I'm sure that the different names that are given to these deities in different cultures only reflect the humanity's distortion. They are in fact the same beings, despite having many names, haven't been given many names to different cultures. And so it is very, very important now for us, having this knowledge, to synthesize the information, to realize that you have an entire family tree from Creator who is working and who is supporting us, who you can contact and who you can use as a resource. They are available if you call, or if you do a mantra, or if you give an honest prayer from the heart. So that is very important information, especially to newly awakened. We've all, been through dark night of the soul, and we've all been through a spiritual awakening. And for those of you who are joining my channel who have just recently awakened, I wish I had this information when I was your age, because I had to find out through a lot of hard knocks and a lot of assumptions, just being bounced around from perspective to perspective, until I personally began experiencing the truth and awakened all of my powers and siddhis. So I hope that this information helps you guys, that you feel comforted, that you feel empowered, and you feel strong with such an amazing support team. And you can do a little bit of research for yourself for what these deities represent. Of course, there are more than what I have mentioned here who are available to help you, and I will be likely doing more videos to introduce you to each one of the deities and their powers. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this video if you know anybody who is also newly spiritually awakened, or who is looking for deeper, meaningful information. Thank you guys, and have a great day.